All right, so the other day, the official gameplay trailer for the Halloween game had finally dropped, and I gotta say, I'm not impressed. And I will tell you why. And I will also propose another question. Do we, as horror fans, deserve better games based off of our favorite franchise IPs? The answer, I will tell you, is yes. Because, say with me, to no one's surprise, the new Halloween game coming out in September is an asymmetrical multiplayer online game. To absolutely no one's surprise. So, we have had this with Friday the 13th, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, all multiplayer asymmetrical. Now I'll give you, I don't have much experience with the Killer Clowns from Outer Space game. However, I do have a lot of experience with the Friday the 13th game. And I will say, I loved the Friday the 13th game. It was so much fun. It was just the perfect blend of the chaos that ensues in the Friday the 13th movies, all while you're playing with your friends, and it is a good time. However, the formula of that game kind of started to show the cracks that could be in the foundation of the playstyle. There were certain points it got very repetitive, and it kind of became almost kind of microtransaction heavy. I mean, there were add-ons that you could buy and so on and so forth. Eventually that game dies, and that's not to the fault of the developers or anything. It's not IllFonic or Gun Media's fault. How it was just the franchise started to become in loop with a lawsuit. So that's excused. However, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, which came out in 2023, and it had a pretty decent fan base from everything I know. I didn't play it myself, but I know a couple people that played it and seemed to enjoy it, and it seemed like there was a decent bit of content of it kind of circling around on YouTube. But then it kind of trickled off, and they tried to, make it to where it was, more appealing. However, it still became a microtransaction heavy experience to where you had to buy add-ons for characters and different packs and stuff. And it was just, the game wasn't fully there upon release. And that's just the frustrating aspect of essentially an online exclusive game. Now, I will say for the Friday the 13th game, and I think this is true for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, there is like an offline mode where you can just kill bots, and it's essentially just you're doing challenges, which is something. It's not ideal because you're not getting any story. You're just getting just in-game base, animations. It's not even a cutscene, you could call it, and they just tack that on, and that's your offline mode. And that's just not good enough. When you're basing a game off of a long-standing franchise, i.e., Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and now Halloween, these fans of the movies, the true fans, are there for a story experience. They love the lore of the villains. They love the characters that pop up throughout different movies. And these games just are not designed for fans, objectively speaking. There's fan service in all of the games. I mean, that's without a doubt. There was fan service in the Friday the 13th game, and there was good fan service. But from what I saw in this recent Halloween gameplay trailer, it just didn't impress me. And everything felt very by the books. And I know it's just a trailer, but if they're wanting to put their best foot forward for this game, and this is what they decided to show, it leaves a lot to be desired. Because, again, It's just an asymmetrical horror game, and it's an online, essentially going to be an online only game. They haven't really touched on anything for a single player mode or an offline mode. And I feel like it's just going to come down to what we got in the Friday the 13th game. It's just going to be an offline mode where you're facing bots and you're just trying to achieve challenges. And that's so boring. Again, the fans are there for the story. You could either play as Michael for an entire campaign and you're being chased down and you're trying to, you know, murder as much as you can, maybe get as many points as you can and avoid getting caught. Or you can be a survivor and you can be on the run from Michael and you can be, trying to fight him and save loved ones. And I will say there's mechanics that they add on progressively to each of these games that they're building upon. So in Friday the 13th, it was pretty bare bones. If you die, you get a chance as to coming back as Tommy Jarvis, and you load in with a gun and you come in second chance to save the game. In the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, there was more of like a working together. It was like I think it was like 5v3. I'm kind of shooting from the hip with the Texas Chainsaw game because I didn't play it, but they're adding different elements to make it a bit different. And with this Halloween game, they added this mechanic to where you can warn bots and essentially make them tag along with you, and you could make them stay with you or spread apart, and you're just trying to save as many as you can by the end of the game, which is cool. But again, I just feel like it's not going to be enough. And it's going to be interesting to see, with this being the biggest franchise that they've gotten to make a game for, how they're going to treat it and how it's going to turn out in just a year or two, which is unfortunately a short turnaround, but from experience, that's all it takes. So it's going to be interesting. I saw somebody beg this question that Michael doesn't look intimidating enough in the gameplay that we do see. And I will disagree with that, because he looks good, and along with the sound design that you're going to get, and of course the score from the original that you get, it's going to get your blood pumping. And Michael, the base model that we saw in the trailer was just the 78 shape. So unassuming, he's not going to be a big hulking brute. But another thing that's going to be an interesting question to beg is how they're going to be able to utilize character customization more so on to Michael. Are we going to be able to use the masks from the different films? I know some of the films had different distributors, and the Friday the 13th game kind of had some little issues with that. Mainly Jason X. They had a time getting Jason X. They made a model for him, but it never ultimately came out, because I think that's right around when the lawsuit dropped, and they never got to do a Freddy versus Jason skin. And I'm pretty sure it was the same deal for the Texas Chainsaw game. There were some skins for Leatherface that never could have been used. And of course, some original characters that never could have been used. And same with the Friday the 13th game. It's going to be cool if we could get like a part 4, like bandaged up Michael before he gets his jumpsuit and mask. I want to play as that ugly ass mask that we get in part 4. And that's the thing. I'm probably going to be buying this game. I'm a sucker. I'm a shill, but I'm a fan of the franchise. And of course, on the podcast, we're going to be playing it. So I'm just going to be cautiously not optimistic. I'm going to be cautiously pessimistic, I guess. I mean, it's just going to be really interesting to see how everything turns out. But I wanted to beg the question of, do we deserve better horror games as horror fans? And I think it's yes. But sound off to what you all think. and what you think about the gameplay trailer that we got and what you hope from the game, because it truly has potential. But Gun, IllFonic, they haven't delivered in a while. But again, biggest IP they got, so let us see. Thank you guys for watching. This was a little off the cuff. Again, sound off in the comments. Like, subscribe. Peace.